The janitor quietly swept the floor in the office, his shabby uniform blending into the background of the noisy workspace. No one paid any attention to him, except to cast a contemptuous glance or shout an order. They didn't know who he really was, or what he was going to reveal. What began as an ordinary day will soon turn into the unraveling of years of mysteries, testing the true character of everyone in this building. And when the truth comes out, it will be too late. Before we continue this story, right where you are looking at us from. If you like such stories, subscribe to the channel, like and share this video with your friends. Elon Musk got off the bus, carrying a battered bag on his shoulder. His sloppy clothes and tousled hair made him look like an ordinary man trying to make ends meet. This is exactly what he wanted. No one could have imagined that this disheveled man was a famous entrepreneur who had just bought the building that towered in front of him. The decision to acquire Samson Enterprises was not spontaneous. Elon learned about the company's potential from a friend in the business world. It was a thriving tech startup a few years ago, but things have taken a turn for the worse recently. Complaints about a toxic work environment, high turnover rates, and declining customer satisfaction caught his attention. Elon had always believed in a kind-hearted attitude towards people, and the idea that this company was built on cruel treatment of personnel did not suit him.
Are you sure of that?
His friend and business manager, Rick Mulligan, asked when Elon told him about his plan to pretend to be a homeless janitor.
Absolutely, Elon replied firmly.
If I want to fix the company, I need to see the real problems, not the embellished version that will be shown to the new owner. Rick reluctantly agreed, even though he thought the plan was too radical. However, Elon was sure that the only way to understand the essence of the company was to start from the very bottom. Now, standing in front of the majestic building, he took a deep breath and stepped inside. The secretary at the reception desk didn't even look up when he approached. She was typing something on the computer and chewing gum loudly. When Elon said that he came to work as a janitor, she rolled her eyes and handed him a tablet with a questionnaire. "Fill it out and sit down," she said in a dry, indifferent tone. Elon nodded and picked up the tablet. He noticed a young man sitting across from him in the hall. He was thin, wearing 2 large glasses, and nervously fiddled with the hem of his shirt.
"Are you going to work as a janitor too?"
Elon asked, sitting down beside him. The guy nodded quickly. "Yes, my name is Corey. I've been unemployed for a long time, I'm just trying to survive somehow." "Nice to meet you, Corey. My name is Kevin," Elon introduced himself, using the name he had chosen for his undercover look. Corey smiled faintly. "I hope they won't be embarrassed that I don't have a lot of experience. I just want to start over." Elon saw the fear in Corey's eyes. He was a man who had a hard time in life. 20 minutes later, a tall, broad-shouldered man entered the hall with a tablet in his hands. He looked around the room and said loudly, "Kevin Thor, follow me." The man led them through the labyrinth of offices to a small, cluttered room that served as a recreation room for the janitors. A woman in her 30s with curly brown hair and a badge with the name Nancy on it leaned against the wall, sipping coffee. In Paul, the maintenance manager, the man said gruffly, "This is Nancy, she's been here forever, so if you have any questions, ask her. Don't meddle with me, I've got plenty of things to do." Elon and Corey looked at each other, but said nothing. Paul explained to them the main duties: cleaning offices, bathrooms, and recreation rooms. He made it clear that the office staff did not want to hear their pathetic stories, and that they did not cause anyone problems. Paul's tone made Elon feel an unpleasant feeling in his stomach. When Paul left, Nancy quickly gave them a tour. Unlike him, she was friendly and even jokingly tried to diffuse the atmosphere. She explained the unwritten rules of work, which areas are easier to clean, and which employees are better to avoid. "Stay away from the marketing department," she said with a grin. "There are only narcissistic snobs who believe that the wipers are invisible to them." Elon remembered this advice. As they cleaned up together, he noticed that Nancy was warm to Corey, cheering him up when he was nervous. Elon admired her kindness and wondered how such a person could survive in such a hostile environment. By the end of the day, Elon had already witnessed several cases of rudeness on the part of office workers. A man in a designer suit thrust a trash can into Corey's hands without even looking at it. Another woman snapped her fingers in front of Nancy's face to get her attention. Elon remained calm, but rage boiled inside him. These people had no idea who he was or why he was here. He was looking forward to seeing how events would unfold. Weeks later, as he walked out of the building that evening, Elon knew one thing: it would be far more instructive than he had expected. In the early hours of the next morning, Elon set up a cleaning cart as he made his way through the dimly lit corridors of the company. He had worked as a cleaner for only one day, but he already felt the weight of this role. It wasn't about physical labor, he was concerned about how office workers treated people like him, as if they didn't exist. Corey, on the other hand, looked even more tense. The young man was nervously fiddling with the cleaning products, his hands trembling slightly. Elon noticed this and patted him on the back encouragingly. "You're doing it, Corey, just keep it up," he said. "Thank you, Kevin," Corey said, giving a faint smile. "I just don't understand why people treat us as second-class people. We're cleaning up their mess, damn it." Elon nodded. "Yes, I could at least say thank you." As they were cleaning the hallway leading to the marketing department, Elon noticed a group of employees at the coffee machine. They chatted and laughed, but when they saw Corey fiddling with a torn garbage bag, their laughter quickly turned to ridicule. "Hey, boy, you missed something here," one of the men shouted, pointing to the garbage on the floor. Corey muttered an apology and leaned over to clean up the mess. Elon joined in, casting a quick disgruntled glance at the mockers. But they didn't seem to notice or pay attention to it. "Be careful, Kevin," Corey whispered. "These people are just waiting for an opportunity to humiliate us." Elon sighed, but said nothing. He felt that Corey was right. As the day drew to a close, Elon began to realize how toxic the work atmosphere was. Employees in expensive suits barely noticed the cleaners, treating them like furniture. Nancy, a kind and experienced cleaning lady, treated this with a dose of humor and humility. "It's always like that here," she said to Elon during lunch in a cramped staff room. "Most of these people think the world revolves around them. They don't see us as people, only obstacles in their way." Elon frowned. "That doesn't make their behavior right." "No," Nancy agreed. "But either you learn not to pay attention to it, or it destroys you." Her word stuck in Elon's head. He was beginning to realize that the company's problem wasn't just bad management or bad management, it went deeper. In the way people treated each other. Later that day, Elon cleaned the conference room with Corey, who was wiping down a long table. At that moment, two employees entered the room, a tall man with slick back hair and an expensive watch, as well as a petite woman with sharp eyes and a contemptuous grin. "I can't believe they've hired cleaners again," the woman said loudly, clearly wanting Elon and Corey to be heard. "I know, don't I?" The man grinned. "It seems that they are multiplying. Soon we will be swimming among the cleaning carts." They laughed. Elon felt his jaw clench. Corey, on the other hand, froze, his face flushed. "I'm sorry," Corey said quietly. "We're just doing our job." The woman turned to him, raising an eyebrow. "Oh, don't be so sensitive, it's just a joke." Before Corey could reply, Elon stepped forward. "Maybe you should try to joke about something else?" he said calmly. The man and woman stared at him in surprise. They seemed to want to object, but instead they just snorted contemptuously and left the room. "Kevin, you shouldn't have done that," Corey said as they left. "No, it is necessary," Elon replied firmly. "No one has the right to treat us like that." Corey looked at him with mild admiration. "You're not like most people, do you know?" Elon grinned. "It's just that I understood a long time ago what is really important." Days passed, but the situation did not change. Employees continued to ignore Elon, give him orders, and even ridicule his appearance. But most of all, he resented the way they treated Corey and Nancy. One afternoon, as Elon walked past the break room, he overheard several staff members talking about Nancy. "She's been here forever, hasn't she?" said one woman. "She would have thought of something better." "About something better?" The man laughed. "She's a cleaner. This is its ceiling." Elon clenched his fists, suppressing the urge to intervene. He couldn't reveal himself, not now. But inside he was seething with rage. How can people be so cruel? As Elon cleaned the floors that evening, he thought about his plan. Originally, he had intended to spend a month undercover, but now he wasn't sure if he could last that long. The more he saw, the more he realized how much work it would take to change this company. However, he was determined to see the job through. He knew that change didn't happen overnight. But he also knew that it all starts with one person. By the time Elon reached the third week of his undercover work, he had already seen enough. Every day, he witnessed how employees gossiped, mocked, and outright humiliated those whom they considered inferior. The lack of kindness and respect was exhausting, but one particular incident made him realize how deeply entrenched the problem was. It was Monday morning when Corey was late for work. His face was pale, and he seemed even more nervous than usual. Elon caught up with him in the pantry as they prepared for their morning duties. "Are you okay, Corey?" he asked, noticing the young man's trembling hands. "Not really," Corey admitted. "My car broke down, I had to go by bus." "Of course, no one here cares about that. I've already received a couple of snide comments that I should be more professional." Elon frowned. "You don't deserve it. Did you explain what happened?" Corey shook his head. "What's the point? People like them don't care about people like us." Elon wanted to object, but deep down he knew that Corey was right. Still, he patted the guy on the shoulder encouragingly. "Just get through this day, okay? Don't let them get you." The morning began relatively calmly, until they were sent to clean the management floor. Top managers worked here, and this floor was known among cleaners as the most difficult to work with. The employees here were famous for their arrogance and sense of superiority. While Elon and Corey were working, a man in an expensive suit walked out of his office, holding a cup of coffee in his hand. He stopped when he saw them and sneered contemptuously. "Don't forget to wipe the baseboards this time," he said, pointing to the wall with his cup. "Last week, you missed a spot, and I had to ask someone to redo the work." Corey muttered an apology and leaned over to inspect the baseboards. Elon could not resist and answered. "Well, make sure it's done right," he said in a calm but firm tone. The man narrowed his eyes. "And who are you to argue with me?" Elon looked at him, barely holding back the urge to reveal his true identity. "Just a man who takes pride in his work," he replied. The man snorted and walked away, muttering something about the lower class. Later in the afternoon, Elon and Corey were cleaning the break room when they overheard their colleagues discussing nearby. "Have you seen this new janitor?" someone said, grinning. "He looks like he's just crawled out of the garbage." "And this one is young," added the other. "He's so nervous all the time, as if he's afraid of his own shadow." Elon glanced at Corey, whose face was flushed. Before he could stop him, Corey stood up and turned to the group. "Why should you be so angry?" he asked, his voice trembling. "We're just doing our job. What's funny about that?" There was silence in the room for a moment, but then one of the employees smirked. "Relax, boy, it's just a joke." "No, that's not a joke," Corey's voice rose. "You think you're better than us because we're cleaners. But know that you wouldn't last a day doing what we do." The staff exchanged surprised looks, clearly not expecting Corey to dare to respond. One of them opened his mouth to protest, but Elon stepped forward. "That's enough," he said calmly but firmly. "It's time for you to get back to work." Corey hesitated, but eventually followed Elon out of the room. As they walked down the corridor, he muttered, "I just couldn't be silent anymore." "I know," Elon said. "And you shouldn't. But next time, leave it to me, okay? Corey nodded, though he still looked upset. During the day, Elon could not stop thinking about what had happened. He silently watched the toxic atmosphere in the office, but now it was becoming more and more difficult to stay in the shadows. He felt a responsibility to make a difference, not just for himself, but for Corey, Nancy, and every janitor who had to endure that attitude. That evening, while cleaning the lobby, Elon noticed that Nancy was sitting on a bench and looking tired. He walked over to her, worried. "Are you okay, Nancy?" he asked. She smiled wearily. "It's okay, Kevin, it's just a rough day." Elon sat down next to her. "You know, it shouldn't be like that. People should not tolerate such an attitude." Nancy chuckled softly. "You're an idealist, Kevin, I like that. But this is the real world. People like us don't make the rules." "Maybe we don't," Elon said. "But that doesn't mean we can change them." Nancy looked at him curiously. "You've got fire in you, Kevin. I hope he doesn't burn you." Elon smiled, but did not answer. She didn't know how much power he really had to make a difference. By the end of the week, Elon had made a decision. He could no longer remain silent. It's time to uncover the truth and confront those employees who made the lives of others a nightmare. But he wasn't just going to catch them doing it, he wanted to teach them a lesson they'd never forget. The day of the general meeting of the company came. Elon, still in his cleaning attire, entered the conference room early to arrange rows of chairs in front of the large projector screen. The employees gradually flocked, talking animatedly among themselves. Most of them didn't even take a second look at him. After everyone gathered in the room, the head of human resources, Layla Spencer, stepped forward to begin the meeting. "Good morning, everyone," Layla said in an even and professional tone. "As you all know, our company has a new owner. Today, he is here to introduce himself and share his vision for the future. Please greet me," as she paused, glancing at the end of the room where Elon stood. Her eyes widened in amazement as he stepped forward, still in his worn-out janitor's overalls. "Elon?" Layla stammered. Whispers and bewildered exclamations were heard in the room. Some employees laughed, thinking it was a joke, others looked confused. Elon slowly walked forward, his steps confident and calm. He turned to the audience and met their curious but skeptical looks. "Good morning," he began, his voice calm but firm. "My name is Elon Musk, and I'm not just a janitor. I am the new owner of this company." Dead silence hung in the hall. No one seemed to know how to react. Then, one of the employees in the front row, a middle-aged man named Terrence, chuckled nervously. "It's a prank, isn't it?" he asked, looking around for confirmation. Elon's expression did not change. "No, this is not a joke. For the past 3 weeks, I've been working undercover here to understand how this company really works." There was another roar of voices in the hall, but this time louder. The employees fidgeted awkwardly in their chairs, looked at each other. Elon raised his hand, calling for silence. "During this time, I saw a lot. I saw employees who work hard, who treat those around them with respect, regardless of their position. But I also saw something else, a culture of arrogance, disrespect, and disdain." He paused, letting the word settle in the minds of his listeners. "I was insulted, ridiculed, and ignored just because I wore a janitor's uniform. And I wasn't the only one. My fellow cleaners, the people who keep this building clean, are considered invisible here, as if they don't mean anything." Elon gestured to the screen behind him. "But don't just take my word for it. See for yourself." The lights in the hall went out, and the video began. Footage appeared on the screen, filmed by hidden cameras that Elon had installed throughout the building. A tense silence reigned in the room. Video footage showed employees humiliating cleaners, laughing at them and making snarky remarks. Some of the employees had pale faces, others tried not to meet the eyes of their colleagues, staring at the floor. When the video ended, Elon turned on the lights again. His expression remained serious, but there was no anger in it. I didn't show you this to humiliate anyone, he said. I showed it because it's time for a change. Such behavior has no place here and nowhere else. One of the employees, a woman named Candice, raised her hand. Mr. Musk? I want to apologize, her voice trembled. I've said things I'm ashamed of now. Now I understand how wrong it was. Elon nodded. Admitting your mistakes is the first step. Thank you, Candice. He turned to the others. For those who participated in this toxic culture, I give a choice: either you change or leave the company. I will not tolerate an environment where people are not respected for their honest work. The tension in the hall was palpable. Some employees appeared genuinely remorseful, while others were defensive. To those of you who have shown kindness and respect, I want to say thank you, Elon continued. It is you who will help restore the corporate culture of this company. And to my fellow cleaners, who have endured so much, I will say one thing: you are important. Your work is important. And from that day on, you will receive the respect you deserve. Nancy and Corey, who were standing at the back of the room, looked at each other in shock. They had no idea that Elon was the owner, but now everything was clear. Elon softened his voice as he finished his speech. It's not just about cleaning the building. It's about cleaning up our valuables. And it starts today. After his words, the room fell into silence. Everyone comprehended what was said. Everyone in the depths of his heart thought about his actions and about what changes were now coming. When Elon stepped aside, Lila Spencer returned to the stage. Usually collected, she now looked shocked, but quickly pulled herself together. Thank you, Mr. Musk, she said, her voice firm. As the head of human resources, I will make sure that the changes you have proposed are implemented immediately. Starting today, we will start working to rebuild trust and respect at all levels of the company. Elon nodded and stepped aside, allowing Lila to lay out the new corporate rules. Employees were waiting for training on respect and inclusion, as well as zero tolerance for discrimination and bullying. Those who wanted to stay had to take this new course. After the meeting, one by one, the employees left the room, looking thoughtful. Nancy and Corey, the same janitors who had supported Elon during his covert investigation, looked at each other and smiled at each other. They knew that now everything would change for the better. Elon lingered at the door. Kevin, that is, Mr. Musk, Corey said awkwardly, scratching his head. I had no idea that you, well, you get the idea. Elon smiled warmly. Just call me Elon. And I want to thank you both. Your kindness and hard work did not go unnoticed. I really appreciate everything you do. Nancy held back her tears. It's so nice to know that we're being seen. We have been through a lot, and these words are very important to us. Elon took 2 envelopes from his pocket. This is for you, he said, handing one to Nancy and the other to Corey. The 2 cleaners looked at each other in surprise, then opened the envelopes. Inside were letters of thanks and significant cash bonuses in appreciation of their loyalty and honesty. That's too much, Nancy muttered, her hands trembling. That's not enough, Elon said, but it's just the beginning. Throughout the day, employees approached Elon in person to apologize. Among the first was Candice, the same employee who spoke at the meeting. Mr. Musk, she began hesitantly, I've been thinking a lot about what I've said and done. I am so sorry. I want to improve. Elon stared at her for a moment, then nodded. Apology accepted, Candice. But remember, words are only the beginning. Show me by your actions. She nodded vigorously. I'll do so. Thank you for giving me a chance. In the following days, the company underwent drastic changes. Employees who created a toxic atmosphere either resigned or were relieved of their duties. Those who remained embraced a new culture of respect and humility. Elon has been actively involved in the changes, meeting regularly with staff to monitor the reform process. Nancy and Corey were promoted to leadership positions. They now managed the harvesting team and became ambassadors for the company's new values. Their self-confidence and pride in their work grew along with the recognition of their merits, and they became a living example of how conscientious work and kindness lead to success. A few months later, Elon again gathered the entire team for a meeting. But now the atmosphere was completely different. The employees greeted each other warmly. The tension and division of the past were replaced by unity and mutual understanding. Elon stood in front of the crowd, looking at the sea of faces. "I want to thank you all," he began. "This company has come a long way in a short time, and all this is thanks to your efforts. Respect and kindness are not just words, they are actions. And you proved to me that change is possible if you work together." The hall erupted in applause as Elon descended from the stage. Nancy and Corey walked over to him. "You've really changed this place," Corey said admiringly. Elon smiled modestly. "No," he said. "We did it all together." What do you think of this story? Leave a comment under this video. Thank you for watching and God bless you.